Hello and welcome to May 20th, 2022. I'm Kurt and this is my daily Good Life meditation video, an exercise that I perform every morning shortly after waking. I used to do it first thing after waking, but now I do it after I take a shower. Well, first thing I do is I write in my journal. I literally get up out of the bed, walk into my office space here, turn on my desk light, sit down, still in my night clothes, and make my daily obligatory journal entry. Something I do with no foresight, no idea what I'm going to write, yet rough guidelines not to dwell on minutia, to try to go where the interesting thoughts lead. Try to it's like trying to keep pace with the muse. It's like running down a 100-meter sprint, hoping that the muse will run with me. Mostly she doesn't. Pretty much always she doesn't. That writing is for the most part dull and contrived. When the muse strikes, it's like the pen is being led. But there's something to the writing. It's journal writing after all. It's the minutia of remembrance. It's laying down little mementos of the day that just passed, because usually I write about yesterday and maybe a little forecast for today. But usually it's yesterday, and it's gosh darn it, sometimes it is in fact the trivia, but I don't want it to be. Johnson says, don't write about what you had for breakfast. I know what his angle is. Write about what you thought about breakfast, or thought about over breakfast. Write about the place. Like I remember this breakfast that I had in Windsor, UK, when I went there to work. And I was staying in a hotel immediately across the street from Windsor Castle. Literally, I could see the castle there out my door. And I had a room that wasn't a room like at a Holiday Inn or even a Hilton. It was literally a room that had probably been a room for several hundred years. And I remember the breakfast, the toast cooked on one side, the cut of the cutlery, the sound of the room. These things are still very distinct. But I do remember what I had for breakfast too. I had eggs and some sausage and toast, like I said, and coffee. Or maybe it was tea. I didn't write that down. It just all blazoned in my head from the uniqueness of that moment. Didn't need to write it down. It was written. It was indelibly written in my mind. It's almost like, when the brain is putting down the memories, and I know this is how it works. It's the melanar or whatever it is. There's the term for that coating that goes around the neural connections that are made that really make them more long lasting. It's like if you were writing on a piece of paper, and the words are, scratched in. They're there for the ages, right? Memories for the ages. That's what it's like to have that experience. Memory for the ages. I guess that's what a good journal entry, probably that's what he means by that. In your day-to-day, like if I wrote down what I had for breakfast today, what I will have for breakfast today, and what I had for breakfast yesterday and the day before that, it would be exactly the same. It would be salad and oatmeal. That's what I eat for breakfast every day, salad and oatmeal. That is that is interesting for about 3 seconds and then never interesting again. But if I remark this morning that yesterday's breakfast was a little bit anxious for the pain in my internal pain in my body, that I was going to go see the doctor to visit, that's something worth remembering. And then the thoughts that I was having, that here you thought, Kurt, you were all along ready for death. You thought, and I didn't really tease myself or fool myself into thinking that I really was ready. I just like to think that I'm prepared. You know, every day, Kurt, you say your first objective is the good and effective use of, to be ready, to always ready for death. And then number 2 is the good and effective use of time. Have you really, and you think that you're going to be ready, that you can go down like, go down well. But still the rough unease of yesterday's breakfast of salad and oatmeal was certainly shooken, if not stirred, by the pain inside. And then later, as soon as I talked to the doctor on the phone, and she said, "Yeah, no, we need to see her right now. Get into the urgent care." Oh, by the way, it worked out fine. So the doctor doesn't think it's going to be anything bad, but they're going to get an ultrasound just to see. So next week. That's worth writing in the journal. It's worth writing down that over my breakfast of salad and oatmeal, I thought about the pain that kept me up, the pain in my body that kept me up through the night, longer than I usually stay up through the night, because I usually have my work worry. But this was a worry over the pain, not just being kept up because of the pain, but a worrying over what the cause of the pain was. Probably something that I wouldn't have worried too much about in my 20s, immortal as I was. But now, on the day of my birthday, not my daughter's wedding, on the day of my birthday, my 58th birthday, not so immortal anymore, right? And to be woken at dawn, not by birthday wishes, but by internal pain that's been there for weeks, but kind of, foolishly ignored. Fool, and underline it in the journal. What a fool you are, remain. That's a worthwhile journal entry. That's what Johnson meant by not the minutia, but maybe the thoughts around the minutia. He didn't say it that way. I like the way that came out. Not the minutia, but the thoughts around the minutia are worthy fodder for the journal. But the thoughts around the minutia, I like that, if I do say so myself. So that's what I'll strive for in my journal. And that's the first thing that I do, even before I straighten myself up with a dim, small light on my roll-top desk. It's a light that illuminates just a small space of wood, just before where I sit. A good focus and illumination on an attempt to journal well. Otherwise, yesterday was a good day. I made some. I lost 3 hours of work going to the clinic, the urgent care. But I gained in half an hour back. I worked half hour late, and then today it's my day off, but I'm going to work 2.5 hours to write a risk report, so I can earn that time back. I'm not satisfied with getting paid when I haven't worked. That's not me. So I'll get that back. And otherwise, it was a great birthday yesterday. Emily came back with a really nice pile of sushi from the sushi restaurant where she works. Someone brought in the trash. I haven't ascertained who that was. I brought the trash out in the morning, but someone was kind enough to drag it back in to the side of the house, one of the ladies. That's sweet of them. Had a good climb. I took the dogs for a good walk after work, but then I noticed that the Christian cross that someone placed on the top of the mountain behind our house, that was just placed up there like a month ago. Someone removed it, seemingly. I noticed last week that it was bent. It's a wooden cross, and it was pushed over, it seemingly, or fell over in the wind. Not quite sure. Or like over the weekend, I saw it at an angle, and I meant to go up there and have a look. But then yesterday, I noticed it was gone altogether. So I climbed it to have a look. Did it fall over? Did someone remove it? It was the latter. Someone had actually removed it. And I checked around in the weeds around it. No one had tossed it to the side. Someone had deliberately taken it down. I wonder if the city authorities did it, because I think it's public land. Interesting thoughts around that. I posted a photo and on Instagram, saw some interesting comments. My favorite was, it is risen. So off into the sky. And someone else said God came back for a souvenir. And I don't mean to be flippant. I just thought those were funny comments. I was really interested to see how that was going to go down too, in a community that I think that would overall support that. I think it's a largely Christian community here. I wasn't expecting someone to actually remove it. I mean, all the mountains in this area are dotted with crosses. More substantial crosses, I'll give you that. Harder to remove. This was a pretty flimsy one. You could actually have carried it on your shoulder up the mountain. I imagine the person who did so probably, it probably felt good to them, being a believer, right? Carrying that cross. And then someone else who, probably a regular hiker or someone that drives by below that, would rather not see that, not on public land, decided to undo what had been done. And now I'm curious to see how this unfolds. I wonder if the people that put the person or the people that put the cross up will make a second attempt and a stronger, higher, firmer one. Watch this space. I'll keep you posted. Let's do the good life. 30 objectives and 30 principles and 7 objectives. As follows. The first objective is to be always ready to die. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of time. 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions. 5 is to perform good actions. 6 is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities. And 7 is to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly, deliberately, and without multitasking. Now, my 30 principles. Number 1 is the principle of war, to always be fighting against propositions of truth, and especially against ideas that I already hold as truth. I don't want to be complacent with things that I think are real. 2 is the principle of reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt, which are the frame of mind and the perspective that I hold as I pursue the aforementioned war. Number 3 is the Homunculus, the suggestion that we don't have a soul, but, which I think is very clear and evident, but we do have a little consciousness, and for all intents and purposes, that consciousness seems like it will die with us. I saw a coyote going at the side of the road, dead, just off the freeway, on my way down to the clinic yesterday. It was very close to the side of the road, but far enough off. It had been struck, and either got, knocked off the road like that, or, stumbled off the road before just collapsing. Anyway, it was very big and robust, very fresh too. Probably happened the night before. And I dwelled on that as I drove, the inanimate corpse there. I'm firmly convinced that there is no such thing as a soul. Not because I have evidence that there isn't, but because there's actually no compelling reason whatsoever to think so. There's some bad evidence, flimsy ideas, and a lot of wishful thinking. But nobody can, or I'm not aware of anybody truly demonstrating that that is the case. And if we don't have a soul, I don't think the coyote does either. Its machinery simply shut down due to wholesale gross damage caused by the strike of the car. And it shut down, it went off. And its light went out, its music stopped. The candle flame was snuffed, not going anywhere. And I thought about it as I drove. And I thought about myself going to a hospital to get a doctor to check out some slowly appearing internal pain, knowing that such things can lead to the horror show, the consequence of something really bad. And I'll confess I was a little shooken. Yeah. Maybe not so ready for death as I like to say, or strive to be. Next is the Anchorhold, the idea that the consciousness is trapped within us, it can't escape and go anywhere, just like the consciousness within that coyote died with it. It went down with the ship, so to speak. Then comes the home of good and evil. Right and wrong are opinions that we hold in our minds, subjective at that give the appearance of being more substantial when we can ground them in some objective seeming connection to reality. I guess it really is objective if you can really demonstrate, but it's not really real. I mean, it's not like the universe gives a damn if I drink battery acid, or whatever the consequences of that are. The universe is incapable of care. So it's subjective insofar as I prefer not to suffer the consequences of drinking battery acid. It's objective in terms of the fact that, yes, that is a thing that happens to me, but it's not an objective good that permeates the universe to say, don't drink battery acid. Next comes purpose. There are 3 purpose in my life: biology, virtue, and mission. Biology suggests that my purpose is to be a good father and raise my daughter well and get her into adulthood and then get the hell out of the way. Virtue is to be a good human being, caring of others, looking out for the well-being of thinking creatures, including myself. And this includes our pets and wildlife at large. Anything that can suffer, try to reduce suffering. Unnecessary suffering, at least. I wonder if I should become a vegan again. And then the last purpose is to share the story and message of my book, Going Alone, which is the tale of my adventure into the deep wilderness of the desert, how I discovered nothing out there, and what I did with that awful fact. Is it awful? I think so. It'd be nice to think that the universe gave a damn. But that would be seemingly unending chain, right? What gave a damn about the universe? I know you can wipe that away with some simple philosophical musings that nothing need the first cause, but still, Seems like sophistry to me. Anyway, I wrote this book about the experience and these good life objectives, the principles and the objectives. It's in here. You can find this book on Amazon, hardback, softback, ebook, and at goingalone.org. The goingalone.org one will go a signed copy. That reminds me, I need to send a copy to someone in Japan. Not they didn't buy it, but someone I was talking to. They did me a favor. They wrote a lovely song called "I'm a Softy Papa." It's a real thing. I'm a softy papa, and I'm gonna send them a book. Thank you. Okay, next, the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, and they're all falling to pieces, including you and me. That coyote is falling to pieces beside the road right now. It sounds unsettling, but it's the way it works. Wouldn't it be bad? What a terrible place it would be if we didn't fall to pieces. Ooh, what a pile of corpses we'd have before long. Next comes the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, and it's good to recognize what that is. And then the pirate ride, the suggestion that free will is an illusion, a very compelling one, but an illusion nonetheless. And then maturity and the sub-principle of wisdom and fortitude. And then the social principle, we're social creatures, we need each other. And then public speaking, a reminder to use few words, deliberate words, carefully chosen words, and to never gossip. And then temperance, a reminder to be very careful in my consumption, to work less, or not work less, but to not work too much, work just the right amount. Don't watch how much I work, how much I play, how much I eat, how much I drink, all that stuff within moderation. It's a better life. Then the horror show, as a witness by my aforementioned brush with everything I'm trying to say now comes out too much. My incident, my little scare yesterday going to the doctor, which was a forecast of potential horror, and the horror of the coyote at the side of the road, and the horror of Helen's husband's suicide, and the horror. Well, this is the scariest one, I think. The horror of Harold's admonition to don't stop, and as well as his pleading insistence on the mail. That's the scariest one of all for me. Good God. I need a swig. Yeah, the horror show's everywhere. It's coming for you and me, if it's not here already. It's coming for you, dogs. It came for the coyote already. It's coming for all of us. And the next principle is called that which must be borne. We have to bear the fact of the horror show unfolding all around us, all up and down this neighborhood, coming to a home near you, coming to your home soon. We have to bear that. We also have to bear our responsibilities, the commitments that we've made, the things that we do to fight back the chaos, to beat it down against the entropy, banging at the door. Would entropy bang at the door? No, it would be more like an unrhythmic percussion, right? Static. Imagine that. Entropy staticking at the door, like cosmic rays on a TV screen where no broadcast is happening. Imagine that white noise pushing against the door. We have to bear that too. It's a lot to bear. No wonder old people give up. No wonder so many old people say, fuck this. I'm locking the door. I'm putting the no solicit sign out, like my neighbors next door. They got that little sign out front that says, no soliciting. We got everything we need. Yes, we found Jesus. And And we don't, and we know who to vote for. Please don't ring the damn doorbell. It says something that's it lists out all the stuff. They're old, they're done, stay the hell away. This, the static at the door. Holy shit, that's a compelling image, isn't it? Jeez Louise. Yeah, that's what we have to bear. We have to bear that. It's not so hard when we're young, we're protected. We just cling to our mother's skirt. In our teens, we rally around our friends who will, like us, will live forever. And we imagine the old people drowning in the static, wimps. They don't know how to handle the world. And then our 20s, we're too distracted and busy. Well, that's not really the distraction time. That's the ramp-up time. We're having a good time. Hey, we're strong. We're immortal. And in the 30s, that's when we're busy. In the 40s, that's when we're busy. And we're building something, aren't we? And the static, is raging. The entropy all around. The chaos. It's like a sea of chaos, an atmosphere of chaos. And then it isn't in the case until early our 50s when the kids start to go. And our minds and our minds start to falter, and we're getting tired, and geez, I don't want to go to work anymore, and man, what's that pain? What's that stuff seeping in under the door? I'll need some caulk to squeeze in that crack to keep it out. And I see it's something at the window too. And every time I go out for a drive, and at the supermarket, and all those younger people don't really seem to see it, or they're in spite of it. They just go on, The chaos, the entropy, just the static point. That's what we have to bear for some years, some decades. And then when you get really old, you're like, I can't get away from it. It's seeped through under the crack of the door. It's come through the windows. It's here now. It's coming from within. It's what's this pain in my leg, and what's going on here. Yeah. I'll go check the mail once more. Maybe Ed McMahon's coming for me. I'll put the sign on the door. No solicitors. We've got enough. We've had enough. And when the grandkids are brought over by our children, we hope that they'll stay. But we hope they won't stay too long, because they bring the staticky chaos with them. Goodbye. It was great to see you. Yeah. Oh, it was. Thank you. Yes. Come again. Bye. Let's go to bed. Yeah, that's what must be born. It's hard to bear it for long, which is why so many do not rail against that good night, but go quietly into the good night. They've simply had enough. Okay, next after that comes Feast of Offal, which is what happens when you get upset and you let the world know. Or you gape with wonder at the upset of others, thinking better them than me. And then two principles that go together, like peanut butter and jelly: distraction and agency in the great indifference. we distract ourselves with all the things that we have in our lives, our work, our play, our home, our family, etc., sports, hobbies, God, so that we don't have to see that there is no God. And then the best seat in the house, a reminder too that to not want to be anyone else, be anywhere else, would be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing right now. And then the Path of Wildness. It's a way forward and upward into and through new life. And then the risk of avoiding risk. The deep risk of finding ourselves. And the surface level risk of the sane and sober. Education, career, family, home, and security. Great things. But watch out if you want to peek over the edge. What else am I? What else is there? If you don't want to peek over the edge, then these are fine. But if you feel that draw, you better peek over the edge. Better yet, you better climb down. But watch out. It's scary and dangerous down there. But it's worth the climb. Especially if you're so compelled. And if you are so compelled, watch out if you don't climb. Because you will regret that. Especially once the chaos comes back. Once you perceive the chaos never gone away. Once the static returns, or is more noticeable, then you'll realize that your chance is over. Maybe time to get another lock on the door. Next comes sin and damnation. The 7 sins in my worldview relate to being untrue, believing things which are untrue, and gossip. These are falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority, and gossip. I don't want to do any of those things because it leads to a damnation in the here and now. Complete oblivion is the next one. The idea that since we don't have a soul, there is no God, no consequent heaven or hell, and no eternity. That when we die, we lose all. We lose every chance. We'll never have a chance to reunite with the ones we loved. We'll never have a chance to reconcile with those that we parted on poor terms with. And there will be no final justice. So live that better life now. Next is the great life adventure. That experience that forms the nucleus and the centerpiece of our lives. It's to be had in that now, and particularly in the time of our youth. You can do it when you're later, but if you've never done it when you were young, it tends to be hollow and frightening. It's like a boxer, or someone who wanted to be a boxer that never entered the ring in their 20s and decides when they have their midlife crisis, I'm going to be a boxer now, and goes into the ring in their 50s or late 40s, gets the shit beat out of them. At least they can call themselves a boxer, but their chance was missed. Doesn't mean it can't be done. The odds are slim. It's hard to be a hero when you're old. Unless you have lived a heroic life, and then it's part of your nature. Next comes the principle called the season of philosophy, a time to be ready for the words to come. Like I said, I trace on my journal every morning the words that I want to write out, and mostly the muse isn't there with me. Remember that movie Ghost, right, with Patrick Swayze? You want the ghost, Patrick's ghost, to be behind you, kind of. I mean, I don't believe any of that crap. I don't believe any of that's true, but I do. It's like there is something to it when the mind kind of clicks in, and the pin starts going. So the words coming from within. It's not Patrick Swayze behind me without a shirt. It's me. It's me pushing me. But if I don't facilitate that, if I don't create that opportunity, then, or at least have it at the ready, then it won't happen. Next comes the bullseye aim. This is the reminder that we can shoot for the bullseye, but we usually miss. And then the uphill climb, steady trudge upward through life. Arena and utility, keeping our principles at the ready. And this is what I do to do that. This daily exercise is what I do to keep my principles, sharp and immediate. I mean, literally, by doing this, I'm at this 35 minutes. An average, I do this, 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50 minutes a day. These principles are just like right there now. I've been doing this for years now, since 2018, 4 years. It's an amazing thing how these affirmations bring it forth. Don't have to search for them anymore. I really recommend it. There's the Catholics are onto something about that rosary beads, saying the prayers over and over again. The Buddhists do the same thing, chanting of that sort. I guess there really is something to that. I love the word instantiate. It instantiates these ideas into ourselves. Next is nothing is enough, a suggestion that less is better. And then the last one, the principle of fun, reminder to have a good time, to also in the immediate now, enjoying the moment of now, also remember to look forward, have hope for the future, and to enjoy the retrospect, looking back. All of it. Try to have fun. I'm saying that to myself, the guy in the camera. I can see you. Have fun. Don't just be damn serious all the time. So much work, so much seriousness. Like that guy. You're awfully serious too. Okay, let's plan for the day. Today's an interesting day. I'll finish this. I'll go over and read my Bible. I think I'm like at Isaiah 45 or something like that. I'll read that. Then I'll go downstairs. I'll feed the dogs and feed myself. Then I'll come up here. I'm going to work for 2.5 hours to write a risk report. Then after that, I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive to the county hospital, where I'm going to have lunch. I'm going to meet with someone there, a friend of mine that works there, and we're going to go have lunch together. And then after that, I might go ambush my brother, go say hi to him. And I want to go to AAA, because I'm going to look into hotels in Vegas for Yumiko and I to go visit. And then I'll come home. I'll enjoy the evening. Take the dogs for a walk. Will I be ambushed through the day? You betcha. Will I be ready for the day? To the best of my ability. Will I make a good use of this time? I sure will try. Will I be ready for death? Probably not, but I'll do my best. I hope you have a good day too. Remember, be safe, but not too safe. Take care.